Hello, this is an assessment of a Bluthner style 4 made in 1935, 150 centimetres long. It's about 4 foot 11 inches. And this client wants us to assess the piano and see what sort of work might improve it. It's in our showroom actually, because there just happened to be enough space, but it'll leave here as soon as the client's decided what they want to do. Now, as you can see, it has no fall. That's the lid that covers the keys, and neither does it have any music stand. Now those were left behind by the removers, unfortunately, and also they took the lid off when they moved the piano. If you want to take the lid off, you don't have to unscrew the screws. There's a hinge pin which you can take it off with. So you can see the pin in the hinge. You're just going to take the pins out rather than having to take the whole hinge off. In fact, grand pianos are moved by all professional removers, putting a cover over the whole thing and keeping the music stand on and the fall on as well. And I'm just showing you the back of the pedals here because the stay appears to be missing, but in fact on Bluthner pianos the stay is integrated onto the piano, rather it's fixed onto the piano. You can see it there, which is very helpful because stays do get lost quite easily. And you can see there the piano came from an auction house. In fact, the lid's been left off, as you can see. It's been taken off with these screws, and the screws haven't been put on completely. And my colleagues who were in the shop at the time said that they asked for help. They obviously hadn't got much experience in moving pianos, which is a shame, because professional piano movers obviously will do a perfect job, hopefully. In fact, I have a video of professional piano movers moving a piano. I'll try and remember to put a link at the bottom of this video. Looking at the inside of the piano, we can see that the frame is mottled, which you usually get with Bluthner grands. Obviously, if you fully restore it, then we refinish the frame, we refinish the soundboard and everything. The soundboard doesn't seem to have any cracks on it, which is encouraging. And the strings are all there, so there's some positive things to say about the piano. That's the serial number on the piano. If you don't find yours on the Bluthner, that's always inside at the back, at the right hand side, right behind the action. 1929, we have a date there, so that's this typical badge here, or logo as we call it, sorry, decal as we call it. 1935 according to the serial number. Now, the important thing is obviously tuning pins, and I want to talk to you a little bit about choosing pianos, because this piano was obviously bought without seeing the piano, and Bluthner grands are quite consistent, but there are some things to look for around here. First of all, we look at the tuning pins. Let's listen to see if there's any. Right, so that one's clearly a bit loose, I would think. Let's have a look at the tuning pin. So the right hand pin here was a bit on the loose side, and as when you try and tune it, you find it's very easy to turn. So we need to set the pin. If we look at the coil, there's plenty of scope for setting the pin. It's just a matter of hitting the pin very gently in. You don't want to completely hit it right in. That's not the idea. The idea is to roughen up the wood. So this is a wrest-pin setter. You hold it tight while you're hitting it on the top, and the idea is to hold it tight so the pin doesn't turn while you're knocking it in, and otherwise that's not such a good idea. You want to just roughen up the wood, so you want to just hit it very, very slightly further in rather than hit it all the way in. So I've hit the pin just slightly further in, and it's very tight now. You can't see much difference in the coil. The idea is watching the coil. You want to see it going very slightly. So you're breaking the groove, the sort of thread, as it were, that the pin's made after a lot of turning. If the piano's tuned a lot and pins are turned a lot, it's obviously going to get slightly looser. And central heating's the other enemy that tends to make them go loose. So that's really important to try and keep the right humidity in the room. So generally speaking, the tuning pins aren't loose, so we'll have a look at some that need setting. In actual fact, these pins are slightly larger than I expected. Normally they're very, very small tuning pins on Bluthner grands, but the strings look to me to be original, so that's a surprise. I don't think they've just changed the tuning pins without changing the strings, so perhaps they were just a bit bigger originally, but these are original strings. You can tell that's the coning or the original style. I suppose they could have replaced it with the original style, but normally that isn't what you see on a piano. It doesn't look like that. It's typical Bluthner. This is a slightly older Bluthner grand we got in stock, 1924. It's the old style patent action grand as well. If we look at the strings, then we can see that this is typical strings. This is restrung, so these aren't the original. They look different. They've got this ridge here, and they're not coned sort of rather beautifully right to the end. These are typical modern strings. You get in modern pianos as well. I've got a perfect set of ivory keys. They're a bit dull, so we would buff them on the buffing wheel, otherwise they tend to attract the dirt and get dirty. By the way, if you lift a key, don't lift it like that, you might take the ivory off. So lifting them, they're also we can see the balance rail needs lubricating, so as we almost do every single piano, if it needs lubricating, if you lift it up it should fall down again, so that makes it stiffer, and tends not to play so freely. So that's a job that we would like to do on the piano. You can see the dirt being attracted there, so if it's buffed it tends not to get dirty like that. The action's in quite good condition. It needs fine regulation, but not too bad at all. It shouldn't be sitting on this rail. I think the rail is too high actually, because the hammer below, which is the distance between the hammer and the string, is about right. So it's 47 millimeters, which is correct. So really this rail needs to go down. It shouldn't be sitting on the rail, it should be sitting above it, otherwise it tends to be a bit noisier. The spring is fine. As I lift my finger gently off the key, you can see it going upwards. Maybe make them slightly tighter, so that if in 5 years time or 10 years time it's still going to be functioning really well. It should go up. If I lift my finger off the key gently, it means that the back check is released and then the hammer moves upwards. Now the hammers are quite flat on the top, which does mean it's very mellow sounding when you get too much area hitting the string, as we've said before. Really, if these were refaced and then voiced, we're going to get a clearer sound on all of the notes. They're tending to dull the harmonics on the piano. You need basically them to hit much cleaner, and you get much better tone. And this is the mid treble where it's used mostly. The casework on the piano is generally faded as you get over the years, but the lid's been held back so that if you lift the lid up you can see that that was the original colour roughly. Quite a stark contrast where the light's been exposed to light, so it doesn't have to be direct sunlight, just light, strong light will fade the case like that, and it's pretty much the same all the way around. I'll just have a quick look all the way around to show you that. Here, yeah, similar colour all the way around. We would repolish this piano. We wouldn't be able to sell it like this, or if we did it would be sold inexpensively, obviously. A beautiful veneer, and we're used to repolishing these, and they do repolish very beautifully. So in summary, the main work that we have to do is we pitch, raise and fine tune and set tuning pins as we go. If it's our piano, we may well replace all the tuning pins if we don't want to sell a piano that's got loose pins. And you have to make sure you put it in an environment where it doesn't dry out. It's really important, otherwise it might tend to go loose. And buffing the keys, they do attract the dirt at the moment, so that's something, again, if it was our piano we would do that. Fine regulation, that's also. So repairing the lid hinges, that's quite straightforward. Cleaning the piano is obviously something that needs doing. The touch weight on the piano is generally not bad at all. That's funny enough, goes down there, but generally plus or minus 2 grams is what we're looking for. If we lubricate the balance rail, then that's going to be a smoother touch generally, and also lubricate the rollers, which we mentioned before. So deliver without the fall or the desk or stool. That's really the first time that's ever happened to us. So obviously if you're watching this, it's really important to make sure that piano movers are experienced and professional piano movers, and they will have the piano covered up. It'll all be together, the legs and lyre will be taken off, and then it's a very straightforward job for 2 people. So our team does that, and there's another C-my video which I'll put a link on underneath so you can see how pianos really, they're excellent team. They're not our team actually, but I just happened to catch them and ask them if I could video them. So there's a summary, and as we always try and do, summary of all the things that need doing on the piano, and then we don't miss anything. Let's compare the tone of the piano with some other pianos in the showroom. This is the 1924 Bluthner. It's a longer piano. This is 5 foot 9 inches long. And a 1974 Yamaha G1. So that's a Bluthner style 4 grand piano made in 1935, 150 centimetres long, and it's a good instrument. I think the main work, apart from the tuning pins we were talking about, is really important. The hammers are a bit softer than you'd expect them to be. It's been used a lot, so that's very often the common thing with Bluthner grand pianos. So then you're refacing and voicing. If they're really worn, we have to replace them, which we often do on Bluthner grand pianos. Obviously, it depends how much you want to spend on the piano. If you do replace the hammers, it would give you, as it were, new hammers to work on. You can voice them how you like. These will still be a bit soft when they're refaced, but a lot of people like the soft sound anyway. So generally a good instrument. Thank you very much for listening, and if you're interested in buying a piano or you'd like a piano assessed, then please do contact info@robertspianos.com. By the way, if you're buying from an auction, it's really a good idea to have someone to look at the piano. I did find out actually about this auction, and apparently the piano was on its side, so it was impossible for me to really be confident about buying the piano myself. The other thing I should mention, of course, is if you're going to get a piano moved, professional piano movers, as you can see the disaster that you can have if you don't have professional piano movers. Not total disaster because they didn't drop the piano or anything, but in this case, bits left behind, the piano moved in a way that we'd never expect a piano to be moved.